Hold on a
Well,
second here.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Oh my God. Holy
Sounds
cow.
about right.
There we go.
Welcome to Thrive Wednesdays, I think we're calling these now.
Thrive
Different topic every
Wednesdays.
week, and we decided to start this to help everybody who was housebound, but we had a discussion on Saturday morning and thought that we'd really like to continue this twice a month at least, even after everybody's out of their house and not wanting to be in front of a computer for a long time.
Right.
We just want to keep offering it to people, and we have some good things to share about making the best out of life. So I'm Cheryl, and my team partners here are Katie. Whoops, Katie, who's drinking. Sorry, sorry. Katie and Diana and Karen and Rebecca, and our one guest so far, Richard. Glad to have you. And Karen is going to do some little talk tonight about muscle myths.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute us all at when she begins, and then unmute so that we can then talk for a few minutes afterwards.
Okay, and I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see. What do you see?
I see your screen. I see a cute little boy in the back seat.
Cute little boy in the back seat of the car. There you go. Let's see. I'm going to start that slideshow. Hold on. There we go. Go.
From the beginning. Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay. All righty. So muscles and myths. And that's my grandson. I just had to do it.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, which I think, well, Richard does, we've been talking. So, but I'm a personal trainer and life coach. And I also do therapeutic who are older populations, active older adults, and sometimes people with chronic illness or disabilities, and trying to help them to continue to move after, like if they've had an injury and they've gone through physical therapy, to help them to keep moving. But I also work with people that are perfectly...
Karen, we need to make your thing showing like a slideshow so we don't see all of the tabs around. Just be bigger for everybody. So go to, slideshow. I think click from the beginning, not from current slide. See if that helps. Here we go.
What's that do? There you go. Okay.
Go.
So now you can see it.
Yes.
It's just my intro. Okay. My intro slide.
Well, all the slides will be bigger now. So.
Yes, they will. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, so one of the things that first I want to talk and go a little overview of muscles and, what muscles are. And there are 3 kinds of muscles. And this, I'm telling you, we are just on a very basic elementary level, just to sort of get you to understand, so that when I work with my classes and my personal training clients, and I try to explain something to them, this is the level that I talk to them on, so that they're not feeling like overwhelmed. Okay. So there are, voluntary muscles, which are the skeletal, which are also known as striated. And they're the ones that contract on command. And then the involuntary, that they contract without any conscious thought, thank God, because one of them is the cardiac muscle or the heart, okay? And then blood vessels, and then the hollow organs like the stomach and the intestines and everything. And the intestines and the stomach have some contraction, and not a lot, not like what's in the striated muscles, but in order to move food through them. So as part of the digestive process, and that's super important. Now, have you ever had somebody say to you, you lost weight really fast, you did one of those diets where you were dropping below 1,200 calories a day, and they say, you're losing muscle muscle and water rather than fat. Well, what that means is you are losing the smooth muscle. Okay. It's not the striated muscle. You might eventually in time lose some of that if you keep on that way. But the smooth muscle are those ones that are the cardiac the blood vessels, the organs like the stomach, the intestines, and the bladder. So you can imagine those muscles being affected by your weight loss when you're trying to lose weight. So that's why it's so important to eat right and really don't get nuts about it. Okay. That really was kind of a little, I threw it in the last minute. Sorry. All right. So we're thinking about there's nutrition that the body needs, that the muscles need. Magnesium is the fourth most abundant mineral in the body. And it helps with muscle contraction, and it's wonderful for helping with sleep. Okay, sorry, my notes fell over. So you also want to make sure that you have plenty of, plant-based and lean protein, fruits, vegetables, and the vitamins and minerals are really important. Have any of you ever, with a raise of hand, heard someone talk about macros, that they're counting their macros? Richard, Katie, yeah. And have you ever counted macros in a sort of a diet? Richard says no. Katie says, yeah. It's enough to give you, to make you want to commit hara-kiri. It is difficult to do it accurately and to do it well. It's just hard to balance and monitor. It's, you think if it's hard counting calories, it's really hard to count macros. And the point of this is for me to say, we are not, I am not a dietitian and a nutritionist, that I can't make sure that I'm getting the right amount of nutrition and everything, so that my body is going to have what it needs. So that's where I think, we want to be careful about the macros and the balance and everything for your muscles, which is why, just a little sidebar to jump over to the Shaklee and the supplements that it has. And when I was bodybuilding, I took Shaklee during it, because then I didn't have to worry about the supplements, and I didn't have to worry about having enough in my body. Okay, so now let's go and talk about the next slide, the skeletal muscles and how they work. Now, there are nerves and proteins and chemicals that are released to get the contractions to work, and the brain drives it neurologically. When you have the contractions of muscles, it takes two muscles to do the bicep curl. Well, you're pulling up bicep curl, but then in order to straighten the arm out, the tricep has to contract then to pull the arm back down. Alrighty, and it's that way in the whole body. So you see how it's working together. The body always works together. And so balance is terribly important. So when we are working out, one of the myths of working out is, let's start with, you need to stretch to warm up. Well, what that does, there's always been an argument in early on. I mean, when in the 80s, when I was working out, that's what we did. And about 15 years ago, I think the American College of Sports Medicine was taught, when they're kind of the governing body of the exercise community. And they were, pointing out, and studies had been done saying the problem with doing that, to stretch first, is that you send conflicting messages to the brain and the muscle and tell it that it's time to relax. And that's a process that takes a while to get the muscle to relax. And then if you're going to take off running, or you're going to all of a sudden pick up some dumbbells and do bicep curls or a chest press, then you're asking that muscle to automatically contract. And that's where you get pulls and strains and sprains. So the best way to warm up is to start easy or light. So if you're running, you start at a nice little jog, nice little movement of the body, pulling your knees up really high, moving, and okay, here we go, jog, 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 and then you hit it and get it, right? That's why you see, if people are competing at a race beforehand, they'll be running to warm up. I know before I knew anything, I would be at races and go, why is that guy running? Does he has to get running? He has to get ready to run now. Well, he's running to warm up. So that's the thing. You always start light, okay? So slow lifting builds big muscles. That's kind of a thing out here, at least in my area. There are some facilities that when they were open, we're talking about going and working out 2 times a week for 20 minutes each time, and that you just had to lift heavy and nice and slow, and that would build your muscles. Well, the University of Alabama, I think last year, came out with a study where they found that that is not true, that actually you're doing negatives, that you get better results pulling the muscles up and then pulling the weights up and then slowly letting the muscles, you know, work for a longer period of time as the arm let the weights go down. Okay. I don't know, you can't even see me, can you? So if you imagine a bicep curl, and then when you're letting the weight go down nice and slowly, that will do the muscle better workout because it's sustained over a longer period of time. Protein. Everybody wants to have a lot of protein. Let's do a lot of protein. We're going to build muscle. You want bigger muscles, you eat more protein. And in actuality, the excessive protein, consumption of excessive protein breaks down into amino acids and nitrogen, and those are either excreted or they're stored as carbohydrate in the body. So it's not going to give you what you think you can get. You do better to just make sure you're lifting and resting, which it's so important because recovery is what a lot of people forget. They just do the lift and then think, okay, then I'll go and I'll hit the muscle again, I'll hit it again, and I'll hit it again, and that's going to make the muscle grow. Well, it has to build up in between the workouts, and it has to get stronger and repair. So everybody likes to work out every single day, and they think, well, it's okay to work out when I'm sore. And if you're a little sore, that's not a problem. But if your range of motion is limited because you are so sore, or when your muscle is sore to the touch, it's really advisable to not push your body anymore. You just really need to take a day of rest, okay? And then you have the people who feel that I can go my whole life without exercise. Do you know anybody like that? Yeah, I know. And you could, but what happens is that there will be, you know, postural distortion patterns start. You get muscles that are tight versus weak. You get an imbalance in the body, and you start to get issues where you're, you know, I always call it as a hitch in my get along, where I feel, you know, my back starts to have spasms just on one side, or you have pains in your knees, or what, you know, any number of things that can happen, because the body is supposed to be moved. The muscles are made to move us through life and to move us along in our daily tasks. And because we don't work the way we used to at our you know, 200 years ago, people worked. They didn't, you know, we don't have to carry water and chop wood unless we really like that, but we don't have to. And that exercise, you know, we don't get anymore as a part of a daily activity. I'm trying to think of that. Yes. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? You want to open it up for questions? I can't do that.
Karen, I loved it. I loved all the things.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It was super interesting and really well laid out.
Well, thank you.
So where would you, somebody starts in working, like say either you're just completely out of shape or you want to work a different muscle group than you typically do, where would you start?
Okay, well, the important thing to Wow. The important thing to understand is, the muscles themselves. Okay. And you have to kind of break your body down into first upper and lower body is a little bit easier when you have your chest and your back and your shoulders. Um, and, and then legs are kind of easy to work. I mean, because you can sit in a chair and stand up and sit in a chair and stand up and sit in a chair and stand up, and that's a squat. You can, go and lean against the wall, and that's a squat, and you sort of sit with your legs at a 45 degree as if you're sitting in a chair. The big thing, anyway, what they can do is they can private message me and I'll write you a workout for a beginner, because there are a lot of questions to ask. One of the things that I didn't really get into was talking about the imbalance in the body. If you have, a lot of times shoulder problems happen because there's an imbalance between, if the chest is inordinately strong and you have the shoulders are being pulled forward. Now I'm exaggerating, it doesn't happen like that, but that's what the body feels, is that the shoulders are being pulled forward. And then, so then everything gets tight through the neck, because across through your trapezius and your rear deltoids, and it's trying to pull your shoulders back so that your body is in better alignment. Okay. So you have to make sure that part of my job is assessing with someone what their body is to begin with. And then from there, I can say, okay, we need to stretch your shoulders, stretch your chest, and work your back. And these are the specific exercises that we need to do. If you can imagine, I love this analogy. If you think of the shoulder, and everybody talks about my rotator cuff, and it makes it sound like it's a ball and socket, and it's not. It's actually more like a golf tee with a golf ball on top of it. Okay. And all of the tendons and the ligaments for the anterior deltoid, the medial head, and the posterior head of the deltoid, all that's attached right to this ball. So if let's say the front delts are really strong, what's happening is that little golf ball is getting pulled over, and that's where you get an impingement. It pinches nerves and things. And so you have to keep all of those muscles happy and the equal strength, so that that little golf ball stays there. Because, the same way it doesn't have a lip on a tee, it doesn't have anything. It's simply, your arm, and then it has your clavicle, and then it has your scapula. And that's it in the bone structure. Everything else is tendons and ligaments. So all that soft tissue in there. Go ahead, Cheryl.
That must be why I can't believe how many people I talk to who's had torn rotator cuffs.
Mm.
I mean, honestly, so many people the last several years. It's like, what? How does this happen? But what they're doing or not doing is the balance of taking care of those muscles to make sure they all stay strong. And maybe they go to work out and they're only doing the one type that's not
right.
And then they're not helping the other ones. And then they do something that then they hurt that one that they haven't been working with. Wow,
exactly.
That's amazing.
I have a friend who just recently had rotator cuff surgery a couple of months ago, and she's getting there, but she's in, rehab.
Yeah, and it takes long.
And Katie, you're a runner.
I am.
And you're way more than a runner, actually.
Yeah.
Katie's like the modern pentathlete of our
obstacle course racing, like Spartan Race or Tough Mudder. I haven't done Tough Mudder, but yeah, if you've heard of Spartan Race.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you probably understand everything Karen's talking about here.
For the most part. I can tell you I have weak glutes, so they're getting better, but not where they should be.
But But the idea of, doing what you're going to do slowly in the
Uh-oh.
beginning instead of
Oh
doing
no,
something
you guys are
else.
frozen.
Oh,
You're not frozen.
okay. Here, Katie, um,
Oh, she said, yeah, we froze on her.
oh, okay.
Oh.
Anyway, the other question I had was, so too much protein, does that whole mess of the, becoming,
Amino acids
amino acids, and then it gets stored as
and nitrogen.
carbs,
Yeah.
So what if you have too much protein and you're not exercising?
Oh, then you just get fat.
Then you just get fat.
Well,
I mean, really.
Richard, can you add to that?
Yeah, a little bit. I was doing a little bit too much of that because I had to stop exercising for a while for some health issues.
Oh.
And I had too much protein in there, and my urologist said, you got to stop doing that because you have a buildup and it can cause diabetes and a number of other issues because your kidney can't flush out protein fast enough.
Too much.
Right.
Yeah. Even though, and the other thing is, the important thing, were you doing too much of plant protein, plant-based, or were you also doing a lot of animal proteins?
Both. Yeah, but I was on a 5-day-a-week exercise routine, rotating through the muscles and compound groups and all that, and cycling and all that sort of stuff. So,
Wow.
so I didn't tie it all into one group. So it was kind of spreading the pain around, which is part of what I heard you say, Karen.
Oh, right.
Let stuff rest.
Right. Exactly.
I had to stop everything, including walking. And
Wow.
I didn't back off my diet enough.
Wow. How about that? Well, that's really pretty interesting. I didn't really realize that about the proteins. That was really good to learn. I mean, I learned two really good things. I think that protein part, and also the thing about how to warm up, how to get ready for your program, whatever you're going to do.
Right, exactly. And I learned those things because I had two people whose husbands both have had kidney disease. One still does, and the other one has passed long ago. But the understanding about their diets, when they would be asking me questions, I had to research it to figure it out. So, the balance in the body is just really super important. And that's something we just forget. Yeah. The other thing too, regarding exercise and the need for stretching. And of course I said, no, I poo-pooed it at the beginning, but it is really important to do after you're done with your exercise, is to stretch. And taking the time to make sure that you get every muscle group. I always say, front to back, side to side, top to bottom, so make sure that you're getting your quads, your hamstrings, the calves, from behind the knee, and then from up the Achilles, and you don't try to drop the heel. Have you ever stood on a step to drop your heel down to stretch your calves, right? Everybody does that. Oh, I love it, and they really stand there. Be very cautious with that because you can tear that Achilles tendon and you don't want to have to deal with repair on that. It's awful. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is go up to a baseboard and put your toes on the baseboard. And so your foot's at an angle. Arlene's going like this. Arlene takes one of my classes.
A few times.
I know. She takes a class of mine. And so anyway, you put your foot on the baseboard, and then all you have to do is bend your knee, and you're stretching up through the back of that calf from the bottom. And then if you're seated in a chair, you put your heel on the floor and flex your toes up towards your nose and then bend down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cool.
And then you'll get behind the knee.
I was just going to see if Diana had anything to comment or add to, because you were in that program till the state of Colorado said you couldn't go to it anymore.
Right. Well, a lot of stuff that you're saying is stuff that we learned in the class, just about starting out slow, you don't actually have to stretch, and then doing your exercise, and then definitely stretching at the end. I did not the first time, and it was awful. I was just in terrible pain. And both my boys, who are trainers at 2 different gyms, they were just laughing. They're like, "Mom, you didn't stretch, did you?" No. So I learned. And the protein, I noticed that the Shaklee soy protein and animal protein, I really enjoy that. I know you can have it twice a day, but that's a good protein to be able to have.
Yeah, because it's not animal based. It's all plant based.
And it absorbs. Yeah, it absorbs. I just noticed a difference being able to, I started wanting 2 a day when I was exercising every day. And that just made a huge difference. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. And it gave me energy. That and the hydrate. I really like the hydrate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I noticed sometimes if I have had like a salad for dinner and I'll put, some chicken in it, maybe 4 ounces of chicken that I'll put in, cut it up in like a chicken Caesar salad, let's say. And when I go to bed at night, sometimes I haven't had enough protein, my legs get restless. And it's awful. And when that happens, first time I start shifting, I go right downstairs and I do just 1 scoop of the protein and boom, like that. And I can go to bed and I don't move. I'm like a rock, so it does really help, where it's important, but not in excess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
I'll be laying in bed and it'll be, the 15 minutes that it normally takes me to fall asleep. I'm like, did I not get enough protein or something? Because I'm not asleep yet.
Right.
Yeah. I used to, and I really can't do that now because I might wake up in the night. But in the years when I didn't ever wake up in the middle of the night, I would have my protein drink shake, the Shaklee shake, right before bed. And if you can go to sleep in 15 minutes, it doesn't energize you like if you have it in the morning, after your workout or something. And honestly, you can sleep so soundly with that. Holy cow, it's pretty amazing. It really, really is really, really good. But now, honestly, it still takes me 15 minutes to an hour to fall asleep. I never really know. I usually sleep through the night, but if that was going to be an hour, then the protein would have kicked in and I would have been awake,
Right.
So I can't do that anymore.
Right.
But if you do fall asleep,
when I worked at when I worked at a gym, I had all those muscle dudes would all drink casein protein before they go to bed. And I've heard that casein, like too much casein protein, speaking of like where your protein comes from, is actually super hazardous for your health in the long run. Have you heard anything about that, Mary?
No, I haven't. Because that, I stopped hanging around with muscle heads a long time ago.
Blame you.
I mean, when I was in my younger years, and and they were all doing crazy things, then so I don't know anything. Does anybody else? Richard, do you know anything about casein?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
I'd be
Katie?
interested to know more about that and collagen. For sure.
what, Katie?
Yeah, but not the same thing, aren't they?
No. Isn't casein from milk?
Yeah, it's an animal protein. I don't know if it's in milk. I don't know where. I think it's in, but it is an animal-based protein, and
Right.
And it makes you tired. It's the part of milk that makes you tired.
Right.
Right.
And it's the part of milk that I'm allergic to. When people will say, then you just, because when I had an allergy test done, the doctor who did the test was from another country and I could not understand him, but this is what I heard. You're allergic to milk. Don't buy lactate, won't help. You're allergic to casein. And I was like, okay. I had never heard of casein before that. That's it. That's the extent of my knowledge. You know?
But it's also the calcium in the milk that, drink a glass of warm milk before you go to bed. It'll help you sleep. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
calcium, which is
Right.
why we keep the chewable calcium magnesium on hand also, because you chew 4 of them and that calcium really relaxes you to sleep.
Relaxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
Oh,
Well, I think, anybody have any more questions or comments or want to go further on this? Karen, it was an awesome, enlightening presentation.
you.
I'm really happy to learn about these things. And, you've probably, put some thoughts in our heads that we'll be asking you about other things from now on, from this point on, because you've kind of piqued our thinking process that way.
Okay.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
glad. I'm glad.
We were in the middle of something and my computer froze over, so I got back on my phone.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
gotta love computers. Well, I do love computers at this very moment because here we are all together.
Right.
I mean, there are definitely good things. So
Definitely.
anyway, well, go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to say, Arlene and Richard, thank you so much for coming this evening.
Yes.
It's nice to see you. And ladies, as always, it was great.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Did you have a question, Richard?
Nope, that was the applause thing.
Oh, that was the applause. Oh, I love it. See, I didn't even know it did that. You like,
Oh yeah, that's.
I see the reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got it.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
there you go. Last week was the very first video conference I've ever been on. And I've been in training and all that for years, faculty member, all that kind of stuff. Last week was the first, so I've been on FaceTime, I've been on Zoom, I haven't been on Skype, and I've been on Google Duo and Google Meet
wow.
in the week. The last
Oh my
week.
Crash
gosh.
course.
Oh my gosh.
So I found that. Yeah, I recognize the hands.
That's great.
Gosh.
That's good.
Great. Well, you guys, thanks so much.
And
I
I
appreciate
had
it.
2 people who wanted to come tonight, but they said because they're working at home, they're on screens all day now, and
Right.
they can't do this now at night because, even
It's
if
too
they
much.
had a computer at work, it was like you weren't sitting there 8 hours.
I know. Yeah, I know. I just, and I have gotten to where I make myself get up and walk away because then I start getting twitchy,
Yeah.
and then coming back now is fine. This is good.
Yeah.
This is great.
All right.
So, everybody,
Everybody, have an
have a
awesome
great
night.
evening.
We'll see you next week. Next week,
Thank you so much.
I think we're talking about maybe Earth Day cleaners next week.
Ooh, Earth Day. Earth Day's next week. Love the hat, Richard.
In fact, I'm gonna just give a little plug for what you're doing on Tuesday, real quick.
Oh, on Tuesday, I am having a speaker. Her name is Deborah Noble. She is a sustainability specialist.
Ooh.
I mean, she knows more about environmental issues and being sustainable and taking care of the planet. And she said, well, how long do you want me to talk? I said, I don't know. How long can you talk? She said, days. I could do it for days. And so, I mean, she knows about composting and all this stuff. She's very exciting, really great. And she's going to talk about, and she's a Shaklee member. She uses the cleaning products. And she said, well, of course we know that the Shaklee cleaning products are sustainable. And so
that's Tuesday at 3:00 Central Time, right?
yeah, 3:00 Central Time, 3 p.m.
Yeah. So
And yeah. so if you
invites will
can-
be out there on Facebook and different places, so look for them.
Right.
Is it Zoom or Facebook? I'm sorry.
It'll be Zoom. It'll be
Okay.
Zoom, but I'm going to make it an event on Facebook. I asked her for a picture and a title. So, she's going to come up with some, but she has a nonprofit that she's kicking off, and she was supposed to kick it off this month with money from the state of Missouri, and that I don't think is coming. She doesn't know whether it'll come at all now at this point, but I said, let's do it. So she's going to be, talk, and what her nonprofit is education. So she's thrilled that there are people from all over the country that might take advantage. So tell a friend.
Yeah, I have a friend in California who's trying to get her major in sustainability. So
Nice.
That's what she does. I don't know. She has her master's or doctorate or
There we
something.
go.
Yeah.
No, that's a good
Cool.
person. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Go.
Talk to you later
Sustainability Tuesday and cleaners on Wednesday night.
on Wednesday night. There you go.
Everybody.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care. Have a nice
Bye.
evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I thank you.